Today I'm gonna show you the theory in the Schliemann Gambit. The Schliemann Gambit starts after the moves 1e4, controlling the center, 1e5, not allowing white to get two central pawns into the center of the board, controlling the d4 square, and after white plays the move knight to f3, attacking the e5 pawn, black defends the e5 pawn with the knight, with the move knight to c6, and after bishop to b5, this is the Ruy Lopez, just pressuring the whole black position, and here black plays this very aggressive, very tricky move, pawn to f5, which is known as Schliemann Gambit. In this position, white really has only two choices. White must defend this e4 pawn with his d3 pawn or with his knight. And of course, knight to c3 is the main move, and pawn to d3 is a silent. Of course, you cannot take the pawn on f5, because after e takes f5, black has this move pawn to e4, and after pawn to e4, you can see that our knight is attacked. It can only go back, but of course, the best move in the position is not to retreat the knight, but to play queen to e2, just pinning the e4 pawn to the king. And after queen to e2, queen to e7, unpinning and still attacking the f3 knight. And after we take the knight with the move bishop takes c6, d takes c6, and now we play this move knight to d4. And after queen to e5, black has this very simple draw, because after queen to e5, now white can only repeat moves with the move knight to f3, attacking the queen, of course. So the pawn is still pinned to the queen now. After queen to e7, now white can just repeat. He has nothing better but to draw the game. And after knight to d4, now black get to choose. Either he will draw with the move queen to e5, or he will play for a win with the move knight to f6 in this position. And after knight to f6, black is simply saying that this pawn will fall eventually and that black has a better position, which is true, and black should play this position for a win, and in any time he can just claim a draw with the repetition. So after knight to f6, white has only one move actually, which is to develop his knight as well, pressuring the center, of course, the d5 and the e4 square. And after knight to c3, queen e5, and now knight to f3. Now you can see that black has still chances to draw, but the best move in the position is to take the f5 pawn with the move queen takes f5. And this position I think is better for black. He will get his bishop to d6 and will castle, and after he will castle, the f file will be semi-open for black, and he will attack white's king. So in this position you shouldn't take the f5 pawn. As I mentioned, there are only two moves, which is pawn to d3 and knight to c3. We'll firstly take a look at the move pawn to d3. So after pawn to d3, now black just trades off all the pawns with the move f takes e4, and after d takes e4, now he develops with the move knight to f6, and after white castles, he plays the move bishop to c5, putting this bishop on this long diagonal, of course pinning the f2 pawn to the king. And after bishop c5, now we take the c6 knight with the move bishop takes c6. So after b takes c6 and after knight takes e5, now black can just castle and the e5 pawn will be hanging, because f3 cannot be played because of this pin down this diagonal. So after castles, we just develop our knight with the move knight to c3, and after d6, knight to a4 is the main move. You can see that this is pretty complex theory. Of course, you cannot take the e5 knight because the c5 bishop would be hanging. So the best move in the position is simply to move away the queen with the move queen to e8. Now again attacking the e5 knight with his queen, so that after queen takes e5, the c5 bishop wouldn't be hanging anymore. Now that e5 knight is attacked, we have to move it back with the move knight to d3. After bishop g4, of course, attacking our queen f3 is still not possible because of this pin. We simply play the move queen to e1, and after bishop d4, c3, bishop b6, we simply take the bishop with the move knight takes b6, and after a takes b6, now we play f3, bishop e6, a3. Of course, the pawn on a2 was hanging, and after bishop c4, you can see that black has amazing position. He has almost all the pawns on the dark squares, and this c1 bishop will hardly develop to this diagonal, and of course the f file and the a file are open, and black has great attacking chances, and for this pawn has a lot of compensation. So the move pawn to d3 after the move f5 is not the best, so the best move, of course, in the position is the main line, which is to play the move knight to c3. After the move knight to c3, black still trades off the 2 pawns with the move f takes e4, and after knight takes e4, black has 2 choices, either to follow the main line with the move knight to f6, or to play this aggressive move pawn to d5. So pawn to d5 is a sideline, and it's not as good as the main line. So after the move pawn to d5, we simply take the e5 pawn. Because of this pin, it is undefended now, and after knight takes e5, of course black has to take our e4 knight with the move d takes e4. Now of course we take the c6 knight with our knight with the move knight takes c6, and of course black cannot take our knight, because after bishop takes c6, of course the rook in the corner would be hanging. So after knight takes c6, now black has 2 choices once again. First one is to play queen to g5, which is the main line, and the second one is to play queen to d5, which is a sideline. So after knight takes c6, we are firstly going to take a look at the move queen to d5, and after queen to d5, now white plays the move pawn to c4, of course attacking the queen on d5 and defending the b5 bishop as well. So black has to move his queen one more time with the move queen to d6. This is the best move, and after queen to d6, we simply take the a7 pawn with the move knight takes a7. This is check, of course, and after bishop to d7, which is the best move, we simply take the bishop on d7 with the move bishop takes d7, and after queen takes d7, we have this check on h5, which is of course the best move. So after queen to h5, g6, queen to e5, you can see that after king to f7, we cannot take the h8 rook because our queen would be trapped. So we simply play the move knight to d5, and after c6, the main line, we simply offer a queen trade with the move queen to d4, and our position as white is amazing. We are up 2 pawns and have much better position. So if you are black, you shouldn't play the move d5 here, and if you play the move pawn to d5, you should play the move queen to g5 here, which is the main line and the best move by far. So black here plays the move queen to d5, of course pressuring the g2 pawn and of course attacking our b5 bishop. So the best move in the position is to play queen to e2, simply defending the b5 bishop as well as attacking the e4 pawn. Of course black wants to defend the e4 pawn with his knight with the move knight to f6, and after f4, queen takes f4, and after queen takes f4, we have this move knight to e5 check. Here black plays the move pawn to c6, and now we play this crucial move, which is pawn to d4, attacking the f4 queen, and after queen to h4, we play this move g3, of course attacking black's queen, and after queen to h3, now we play the move bishop to c4, just pressuring the whole diagonal, of course maybe threatening to put our knight on f7, and after bishop e6, not allowing knight to f7, we play the move bishop g5, and after black castles, we castle as well, and after bishop to d6, we simply trade all the pieces off with the move bishop takes e6, and after queen takes, we play the move queen to c4, and this is the end of the theory. And I think white has better position here. White will enter the end game, which will be better for him because this e4 pawn is very weak. So this position I think is better for white. And if you are black, in this position you should play the move knight f6, trying to equalize the position. So in this position the main line goes knight to f6, and after knight to f6 we of course trade off the knights with the move knight to queen, and after queen takes f6 we play the move queen e2, pressuring both the e5 pawn and of course threatening to play d5 in some positions because this pawn is pinned to the king. Now black simply develops with the move bishop e7, not only trying to castle, but as well unpinning this e5 pawn. So now we play the move bishop takes c6. Now black has the choice, either to take with the d pawn or to take with the b pawn. Taking with the b pawn is the main line, but taking with the d pawn is playable as well. So after d takes e6, which is a sideline, as I mentioned, now you see that this e5 pawn is hanging, and after knight takes e5, the move bishop f5 is the best, trying to develop and of course attack the c2 pawn, and after white castles, black castles as well, and after the move pawn to d4, now black plays the move bishop d6, just putting this bishop on this diagonal looking towards the h2 pawn, and after we play the move f4, bishop takes e5, and after d takes e5, now black plays this move queen to g6, of course pressuring the c2 pawn, and after rook to f2, just defending everything in white's camp, you can see that white of course has an extra pawn and white has better position. Black really has no attack here and will just suffer in the endgame. So the best move in this position is to simply take with the b pawn with the move b takes c6. And after black took our bishop with the b pawn, here we play the move pawn to d4, of course pressuring the center, and the d4 pawn really cannot be taken because after bishop g5 black gets a lot of activity and will just win back this d4 pawn and will have much better endgame. So after move pawn to d4, the best move in the position is to play queen to g6, pressuring the g2 pawn as well as pressuring our c2 pawn, and of course the only move in this position is just to castle, defending the g2 pawn with our king. And after pawn to d6, we play the move queen to c4, of course not allowing black to castle, but of course black must castle, so the best move in the position is to play pawn to d5, of course attacking our queen, and after queen to c3, black simply takes the d4 pawn, and after e takes d4, knight takes d4, the best move in the position is to simply play the move pawn to c5, and after knight to b5, of course threatening the fork, now black simply castles, and we take the c7 pawn with the move knight takes c7, and after a rook to b8, saving the exchange, now white plays the move knight takes d5, winning another pawn, and after bishop to d6, now we can see that black has these two bishops and this queen looking towards our king, so the best move in the position is to simply play the move queen to g3. Of course you can see that bishop cannot take our queen due to this e7 fork with our knight, forking the king and the queen on g6, so the best move in the position here for black is to simply play the move queen to e6, and after we play the move something like queen to d3, and after queen to d3, of course defending the d5 knight, the best move in this position is to play c4, gambiting another pawn. After queen takes c4, rook to b4 is the best move, and after queen to d3, you can see that this diagonal for the bishop will be very good, and of course the best move in this position is to simply play the move bishop a6. Of course the queen cannot take the bishop due to bishop takes h2, and I think black has amazing position. Black is at least equal here, but if anybody is better in this position, it has to be black. So if you follow the mainline theory and white is not prepared very well, then after the move pawn to f5 here, you will get better positions out of the opening. So this was the theory in the Schliemann Gambit. If you liked the video, make sure to subscribe to follow more such content, and see you guys in another video.